Welcome to the sit down. I'm Daniel Bohenek, and I am your host. We are going to talk everything sports today. We're going to talk Connor McDavid. We're going to talk about the transfer portal in the NCAA, how it contrasts with football and basketball. We're going to talk about the NHL playoff push, and of course, the NBA and Draymond Green being very outspoken recently about tanking. Got everything for you, but let's start with Connor McDavid. And I have a statement that hasn't been said by many, actually, kind of has. But it's not a controversial one either. Connor McDavid is the best player in the NHL and the best hockey player we have ever seen. With respect to the great one, Wayne Gretzky, I have never seen someone so ahead of everyone else on the ice, and especially in this time and how athletic Connor McDavid is, be just head and shoulders above everybody else. Next Gen Stats would support me as well by saying that he's way faster than everybody on the ice and probably should be in a league of his own. I look at the goal against the Sharks just last night. I look at the goal he had against the Mammoth just a few days ago, and it's just absurd. He's just faster than anybody out there, and even though he's behind everybody when the play starts, he ends up in front of them, and he jukes out the goalie every single time. Those two goals are one of the best things I've ever seen. And the one thing that's not going to support what I am saying is those two trips to the finals where he lost to the Panthers. And of course, the Olympic loss against the US, which he was on the ice for when the goal was scored. He and Cal McCarr went for a 50-50 puck, and it was more McCarr's doing than it was McDavid, but obviously didn't get down to the other side of the ice to play defense. And it all fell apart. And Connor Hellebuyck looked like the savior of the series. And yet again, the narrative was on social media that, yes, Connor McDavid is probably the best player we've ever seen. I don't think a lot of people deny that. They just don't put the winning behind it because there hasn't been him hoisting a trophy yet or having a gold medal around his neck. And I think that doesn't do him a lot of justice. I think that he's just one of the best players we've ever seen. And the fact to get to back-to-back finals when you didn't have very good goaltending, and they still don't have very good goaltending, and lead the Pacific. It's absurd what they're doing with what he has to work with. Yes, Leon Draisaitl's on that team, but Draisaitl's hurt right now, and the Oilers still look like a very good team and someone that can contend in the West. Maybe not with the best teams like the Avalanche, Stars, and Wild, but they still look like a very good team, and on any given day, Connor McDavid can go and show out like he did yesterday against the Sharks and have 3 goals and 2 assists, and now becomes the points leader in the NHL. He hadn't been all season, and all of a sudden he has snuck up on us, and yet again, at the end of the season, we are going to shake our heads and say, yeah, he was the best player on the ice all season. And we're just going to have to acknowledge that, and he's the best thing we've seen since Sidney Crosby. And he's probably better. He is a better goal scorer, maybe not a better distributor of the puck, but when he gets going, when he has a head full of steam coming down the ice, there is no one you are more scared of than him, because if he gets one step on you, it is all over. And I think for this Oilers team, if they get one step and one leap, one win to open a series against a team that is clearly better than them, that team can take off. They can do whatever. And that same team was down 3-1 to the Panthers in the finals and then came back and made it go to 7 games. Yes, that 7th game was disappointing, but the fact that they had the grit to come back and the fact that McDavid was able to lead that locker room to even have a chance is very impressive every time that a team does it. Every time that a team gets to 7 after being down 3-1 is impressive. To win it, that's something that LeBron's done, not something that McDavid has done yet. But we're going to see it eventually. No one thinks, and this is the comparison that's made. A lot of people will say, well, McDavid is the Josh Allen of the NHL. Whoa. Whoa. The Josh Allen of the NHL? Are we serious? That's a big comparison. Josh Allen, who has not made a finals/Super Bowl in his career. and has let down his team in the playoffs when they needed him most. We don't look at Connor McDavid that way. He doesn't let down his team. We look at it as the team let down him. Josh Allen, yes, is a great playoff performer, but when he goes against Patrick Mahomes, or when Patrick Mahomes is out of the playoffs and he finally has a chance to overcome everything, he falls short. We saw it in the Broncos game. It was his fault that they lost. So we have to look at this a lot differently. He's not Josh Allen. He is his own anomaly that has not won a championship and absolutely should have. I look at it as Giannis before he won his first championship. I look at it as Jokic before he won his first championship. Those guys were dominant. They deserved it. And they finally got it. Josh Allen might never sniff a Super Bowl appearance. But Connor McDavid will absolutely be hoisting a cup in his career. I mean, heck, even Alex Ovechkin has hoisted a cup in his career. We need to stop kidding ourselves. This is the best player we have ever seen. With respect, the great one, Wayne Gretzky. Let's move on. I want to talk about something that there's a lot of parallels, but at the same time not. When we talk about the transfer portal in both NCAA football and basketball. So for me, I think that in this recent championship that we watched, the national championship with Michigan, they had 5 starters on that team who were transfers. All 5. In their 7-player rotation, only one of them was there with Michigan the whole time, and he's a freshman. So there's no guarantee that he gets to his senior year or before he gets drafted is going to stay with Michigan that whole time. I look at Michigan as a team that was built off of NIL, built off the transfer portal. I mean, when you look at it like this, it's a Big Ten team that had a bunch of money to spend and built a team and a program that was 8-24, I believe, 2 years ago, and just won a national championship. It's a much different team when you have more money to play with. And do I think it's bad for college basketball? Maybe. Because these blue blood teams, who are the foundation of college basketball and what fans are drawn to and what teams they root for, all of the sudden, these teams can't compete with a Big Ten or SEC team that has just as much money as them. Probably more. If they don't invest as much money in football and they go all towards basketball, they're going to have more money than these other teams. So this controversy, for me, there's a lot of dynamics to it. And I want to open it up to a bigger discussion because it's more NIL, but the transfer portal, being able to go from one team to another team and you don't have to sit out a year, in now both basketball and football, is quite absurd. And I just want to peel back the layers on this. So for me, the football transfer portal is different because it's not as prevalent as college basketball. And for me, with someone like Carson Beck, who went to Miami and was at Georgia, he went from a school that was better to a school that was probably going to be worse. Didn't end up being worse because he played phenomenal, but it almost feels like in that aspect, the transfer portal was rewarding someone for being very good and was sending them to a little bit of a lesser team, but it was an opportunity. You have to look at one of the most famous transfers ever, Joe Burrow. He was a third stringer at Ohio State. He goes to LSU. He goes down as maybe the best college football quarterback we have ever seen. If you're being realistic, I know that is something that's more recent and more old heads would say you got to look at other guys. But for me, go bro. He was on another planet compared to these other guys. And I think that in football, these guys get rewarded. We like seeing them transfer. But in college basketball, it seems like you're going from one team that you're the best player on. If you're a Cinderella story, you go from that team and then you go to another team and you're probably the 4th or 5th best player. You're no longer in the spotlight. and you're just helping a team contend for a national championship. For me, it's not as entertaining. Whereas football is you are playing a position, and in football, it's more solo with that position. You're playing that position, and you're going to another team and still playing the same position, just with other guys that are better around you. In basketball, that doesn't happen a lot. Sometimes you become a role player on a team where you were the spotlight. Now you're no longer the spotlight. So you go to another team, you think you're going to be, quote unquote, the man, and you're not. I think there's a lot of discrepancies that go along with this. And I just think that the football transfer portal, it's not as in your face, whereas the basketball transfer portal is you have to constantly keep track of where these guys are going nonstop every single time. Because if you enter the year and you think that you're going to have the same team, you're not. It's like free agency every single year when stuff like this happens. I think with football, especially, before NIL was even a thing, there was the good teams and there was the bad teams. Every single year, it was the same teams. Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, Ohio State. These were the good teams, and then there was the bad teams. And NIL didn't change that. There wasn't a lot of other teams that really started contending when NIL became a thing. Off the top of my head, Indiana comes up. Yes, they just won a natty. But at the same time, that program was already being built up and would have been built up without the help of NIL. So for me, it's not as obnoxious in football. In basketball, we now see teams emerging that haven't been competitive in years. Not to say Michigan hasn't been competitive, but when you were 8-24 2 years ago and now you were winning a national championship, that's a big leg up. And you have to credit it to, yeah, we were able to pay the right guys. We were able to bring the right guys in that we already saw were good on these other teams. There is good recruiting, and then there's also just these guys are a stud and we know they're going to work in our system. And we don't have to question it. It's not like we're gambling taking these guys in. When you got Yaxel, you weren't gambling. You knew he was a very good player. You knew that if you brought him in, he was going to succeed on your team. So I think that's the discrepancy in where I kind of find failure in the way basketball has it done. Because yes, as we discussed last week, you're seeing better teams. You are seeing more complete teams competing for a championship. But the product out there where now there's no Cinderella stories because you just take what you can get from these bad teams. It's just slim pickings for these bad teams that are trying to compete or even make the tournament. It's not going to happen, and you're not making it past the round of 32 if you made it past the round of 64. We see yet again, almost, if Duke wins against UConn, we see 4 1 seeds in the Final Four. And I've already described to you how the women's side of it has been even worse with that. NIL is great. There's no one that will tell you that athletes, college athletes especially, should not get paid. I am not vouching for that in any way whatsoever. What I am saying is that as a viewer, from a viewer standpoint, it kind of destroys the sport. It destroys what NCAA basketball has been branded off. It's the blue blood schools that do the best at recruiting and the Cinderella stories that come out of nowhere in March and beat on these good teams that aren't great and haven't done enough to put themselves in the position to win. The product that you are seeing on the court is better. But as a viewer, what's more entertaining? Rooting for the underdog or watching two teams that have been dominant all year go at it, and you don't even want either of them to win, but you got to pick one? From a viewer standpoint, this is much different. There's too many layers to peel back on this. But I think most of all, I think basketball needs to figure it out because football has it figured out.